I'm Ces Oreña-Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight. The Office of the Ombudsman and the Justice Department stepped in to have Senator Bato de la Rosa surface again. The lawmaker is now under an immigration lookout order as he dodges an ICC warrant of arrest.
And the political firestorm over the Senate shooting on Wednesday is still raging. And now some senators find themselves on the defense as they become persons of interest in the incident's probe.
And the record heat and other factors are putting a strain on power supply. Rotating brownouts loom with the Luzon and Visayas grids on red alert for a third day now.
Non-preventive suspension of the Sergeant-at-Arms of the acting Sergeant-at-Arms of the Senate, Mao Plaska, effective today. Ito hindi katanggap-tanggap at siya pa nagpaputok unang putok ng baril. It's worrisome.
Suspend also the NBI director because he is more a suspect than General Mao dito.
The Ombudsman has suspended acting Senate Sergeant-at-Arms Mao Aplaska. This is to make way for an investigation into the gun-firing incident inside the Senate last Wednesday. As for the NBI, it is now considering Aplaska as well as the Senate President and Senator Robin Padilla as persons of interest in the escape of Senator Bato de la Rosa. News 5's Camille Samonte has tonight's big story.
I came here to announce that there was a recommendation and I signed for a 6-month preventive suspension of the Sergeant-at-Arms of the acting Sergeant-at-Arms of the Senate, Mao Plaska, effective today.
This sanction on Senate Sergeant-at-Arms Mao Aplaska is over the armed encounter that took place at the Senate on Wednesday, May 13. Ombudsman Boying Remulla said the suspension order is meant to prevent Aplaska from influencing the government's investigation into the incident. The Ombudsman's priority is to obtain CCTV footage from the upper chamber, which would naturally be in the possession of the Office of the Sergeant-at-Arms or OSAA. Remulla has found Aplaska's actions this midweek disturbing. Aside from being unable to maintain peace and order, the former police major general has admitted to have started the commotion by firing first.
Ang mga pangyayaring ito ay hindi katanggap-tanggap, lalo-lalo na siya ay gumaganap bilang Sergeant-at-Arms at siya pa nagpaputok unang putok ng baril. It's worrisome if we allow this to go.
Aside from the OSAA, the Ombudsman will also investigate the NBI and the PNP's hand in the incident. But so far, only Aplaska has been suspended, something which Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano did not take well.
So let me just appeal to the Ombudsman, suspend also the NBI director because he is more a suspect than General Mao dito. We do not want to set a bad example in the independent investigation, and we do not want to put the Senate in harm's way.
Cayetano believes it should not only be NBI Director Melvin Matipag who should be suspended. The NBI's head of transnational crimes, Attorney Jerome Bomediano, should also be out of the picture for alleged involvement in what Cayetano calls is a Senate attack. The lawyer was supposedly named by the Bureau's confidential agent arrested during the incident. For his part, Director Matipag said the Bureau will fully cooperate with any investigation. The NBI has in its possession body camera footage worn by agents who were working security detail at the adjacent GSIS building when the chaos erupted on Wednesday. This shows how the agents reacted to the initial gunshots that rang out from the Senate building.
Makikita niyo po yung pictures, maglalabasan naman dyan. Narinig niyo naman, sinasabi niya, ang nasilip niya, 2 hanggang 3 tao. Eh, overpower niyo na po yun eh. Kung 2 o 3 tao lang yan, kung totoo man po yung sinasabi niya na threaten sila.
Matipag said the NBI is also conducting its own investigation into the incident, particularly on how Senator Bato de la Rosa was able to slip out of the upper chambers complex. The whereabouts of the senator have been unknown since. Matipag said they are considering Senator Robin Padilla, Cayetano, and Aplaska as persons of interest.
Ang ibig sabihin po, kasi may nagtanong sa akin na paano ba yung kay Senator Bato? Paano siya hanapin? Sabi ko, ang unang-una dapat natanungin dyan ay si Senator Robin Padilla. Kasi siya yung huling kasama. May lumabas na pong CCTV. At saka yan sa Sergeant of Arms dahil siya yung nakakalab ng patkilos doon sa Senado. So to a certain extent, there are persons of interest doon po sa pagkawala ni Senator Bato de la Rosa.
De La Rosa and Padilla reportedly left the Senate building around 2:45 Thursday morning. Our cameras caught this van leaving at exactly that time, though it's not clear who were inside the vehicle. Matibag also hinted that SB Cayetano has more information on where Senator Bato is.
Well, unang-una na po si Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano kasi siya po ang Senate President. Siya ang pinakang namumuno sa Senado. At sila po yung nagsabi na ang protective custody ng Senado si Senator Bato. So, ibig sabihin po niyan, they have the commitment to protect him, yung kanyang well-being, yung kanyang safety.
For News 5, Camille Samonte, We Are One News.
The Justice Department has issued an immigration lookout bulletin order on Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa. And the order takes effect today and seeks to prevent the lawmaker from leaving the country. And just to be clear, an ILBO merely flags an individual at all ports of exit and cannot bar a person from flying out, only alerting immigration officers to notify the DOJ the moment the subject attempts to leave.
The Department of Justice will treat any attempt of Senator Bato de la Rosa to leave the country as a mockery of justice. And I'm giving specific orders to law enforcement agents, to our border control authorities, that if Senator Bato de la Rosa would try to leave the country, that the appropriate arrest should be made.
Secretary Vida also confirmed the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant against De La Rosa and the ICC's request to serve it. But the DOJ is not yet issuing a manhunt for De La Rosa because of the Senate and the Supreme Court.
It's under the protected custody of the Senate, and we expect the appropriate turnover once all the legal issues have been resolved, the petition pending before the Supreme Court. The Executive Department, through the Department of Justice, acknowledges the judiciary, the Supreme Court being the final arbiter of resolving all these issues. That's why I just met with the lawyers of the Office of the Solicitor General.
Vida says they have information on De La Rosa's whereabouts but declined to elaborate. The Justice Department has also put together a special panel of prosecutors to probe Wednesday's shooting, alleged to have been a diversion to help Bato slip out of the Senate.
In other news, portions of Luzon and the Visayas could experience up to 3-hour brownouts this evening. A red alert is up over the Luzon grid since 2 this afternoon, which could last until 11 tonight. Then a yellow alert follows until 12 midnight. In the Visayas, red alert is up until 10 p.m. to be followed by a yellow alert. A red alert means that power supply is insufficient to meet demand, hence the rolling brownouts. On the other hand, under a yellow alert, supply could be sufficient but reserves are low and so the operating margin is too thin. And these are a result of power plants breaking down.
Planta na sa Batangas, number one, wala nang red alert sa Monday. And with the current supply, there would be no alerts over the weekend. But ngayon, nadagdagan and napakalaki ng plantang bumigay. Hopefully, yung mga planta na recently lang mag-out, makabalik kaagad.
The record heat being experienced in many parts of the country is one reason for the soar in demand. Power utilities are now preparing grid contingency plans to cope. For its part, the Energy Department is looking to procuring more power plants to boost Philippine energy supply.
Bagong planta na itinatayo upang maging immediately available po ang mga planta na ito. Sa ngayon po may tinitingnan po tayo na 1,400 megawatts na facilities na ready to be commissioned at nag-undergo na po na testing and commissioning.
Now, what's the reason behind the power outages and until when will we be suffering the rotating brownouts? Tonight, we ask these questions to National Grid Corporation of the Philippines spokesperson, Cynthia Alabanza. Good evening and welcome to the Big Story. All right, we hope your connection will be maintained while we do this interview. First of all, how critical are the thin margins that we have right now?
You know what? It's sad to say, and you have to say this, no? But this is nothing new. I don't know if any of you recall, but in the past 8-10 years, we have seen power interruptions yearly. This is nothing that's unusual. Unfortunately, it happened again this year and in the middle of the summer heat. So that is something that's very unfortunate.
And how much does the Middle East conflict have to do with what we're experiencing right now?
Well, ang Middle East, I think what's affected there is really oil, no, crude oil, but we're not dependent so much on diesel. What is dependent on diesel would be the island provinces, what they call the small power utilities group. So tayo naman, we have a variety of types of power plants that are connected to NGCP's transmission system. So we have coal, we have natural gas, we have solar, we have wind, we have geothermal, we have hydro. So hindi masyadong may impact.
But the margins are very thin or low, or can you explain to us why we have to resort to rotating brownouts as of the moment?
Well, what happened today is really a combination of many inopportune circumstances. Unang-una na dyan, it's the summer heat. In the last 10 days, I think we breached the peak for 2025. So malakas talaga ang konsumo ng kuryente. Secondly, even prior to May 12, when we first declared the red alert, there was already thin supply in the grid. No, at that point there were, I think, more than 20, almost 30 power plants that were off the transmission system already. And then, unfortunately, on May 12, one of NGCP's main transmission line, one of our biggest in 500 kV in Batangas, nag-trip yung dalawang linya. And then this resulted in the isolation or separation from the transmission system of a large power plant. And that was the final straw. Whatever little excess we had in the grid was now disconnected. NGCP, on our part, we were able to restore the transmission line involved within under 12 hours. And supposedly, after we're able to provide power to these plants, or the connection has been restored, the power plants ought to have been able to reconnect to the system or sync into the grid within a few hours. Unfortunately, I think they ran into trouble themselves. So it has been 3 days already since that first incident.
And we will continue to be experiencing this same situation for the next couple of days?
Unfortunately, again, we were hoping that those plants affected by the Batangas lines could have come back online today or tomorrow. And if that had, if that had come true, then we did not expect to see any more alerts over the transmission system next week. But just this morning, around past 10, the biggest power plant, the power generating unit in Luzon, also tripped, underwent an unplanned maintenance shutdown. So that aggravated the situation. And right now, NGCP is still running the simulations together with the IMOP kasi we get the projection for demand or the load for tomorrow from the IMOP, from the market. So we're waiting for those simulations to see if there will be any grid alerts over the weekend and coming into next week. Hopefully, the big plants in Batangas will come back online and that will mitigate the overall situation.
Attorney Alabanza, I'm curious, you mentioned your line tripped on the grid side. You came back online, but then the plants naman supplying the power, sila naman yung nag-malfunction. When the grid trips, does that affect the efficacy of the plants, or it's totally not connected?
Of course, it's connected, but because it's a transmission system, everyone's connected to each other. There ought to be safeguards on both sides. So like in your house, even your small system inside your house, you have circuit breakers for your air conditioner, you We have circuit breakers for refrigerator and other big loads. So there are equivalent equipment on a large scale on the power plant side, on the distribution side, as well as on the transmission side. So if all of those are working together, there ought to be no problem, even if one in the energy supply chain trips up. That's the ideal situation. And ideally also, even though you have trippings on any part of that chain, there would be additional or excess supply that we can draw from elsewhere in the transmission system. Unfortunately, coming into that incident, there were already almost 30 other power plants that were already on unplanned, unscheduled shutdown, and an additional 14 that were derated, or they weren't making as much as they had declared. So almost 4,000 thereabouts megawatts were lost to the grid, which is why that's a big impact already. That's almost 30%.
And I know we talk about this every time it's April, May, and it's really, really hot, Attorney. But for the sake of everyone listening in right now that might have not caught it, the heat also affects the functioning of these power plants, the power generators as well, right?
That's correct. Like any machine or electronic, anything that runs on electricity, when ambient heat or the surrounding temperature is too high, masyadong mainit, it will, there's strain on the system. Like your cell phone, when it overheats, sometimes it runs out of battery really quickly or shuts down.
Correct.
So it's the same thing with any machinery or electronics. The heat will, number one, cause a spike in consumption because people turn on their air conditioners. And when you turn on your air conditioners, they're also working harder. And the other machineries that are connected to the system, like factories and other industries, they will also be working hard when the ambient temperature is also high. So it's a double whammy.
Right. Like what you said, this has been a long occurrence when really we have no buffer when the demand for energy increases. But this has been going on for 10 years. When do we expect relief? When will new power plants be coming online?
Well, this has been a long-standing advocacy for NGCP. I recall during the pandemic, we suffered the loss of almost 5,000 megawatts to the grid. And this is considering that nobody was using electricity because we were on lockdown. And at that time, as early as that, even earlier, we were already saying we need more base load. When we talk about base load, these are the plants that can keep on operating for longer periods, as opposed to what you call peaking plants or plants that go online only when there is a lot of demand. And NGCP also advocates for a broader location for the power plants, not just in one area, so that if a certain area is vulnerable to, let's say, weather conditions, then we can draw power. If those plants fail, we can draw power elsewhere from the geographic locations in the grid. And also, we have to maintain what they call the energy mix. We can't put all our eggs in one basket. It can't be all solar. It can't be all coal. Because each kind of technology or fuel type will have its own vulnerabilities. Coal, you're susceptible to fluctuations in the price in the world market. And of course, we import a lot of that. Hydro, vulnerable to droughts. Solar, you don't have it at night, and also vulnerable to cloud cover, and so on. So it would be good if there is a very specific energy mix. I know there is one, but that maybe we can look more closely if that is being maintained. And that should be tailor-fit to the nuances of the Philippines being a country very close to the equator, very hot, as well as the nature of our country that, we're archipelagic. So it's very difficult to manage many islands.
Well, Attorney, DOE Undersecretary Marasigan mentioned earlier that there are new power plants being built already. But the question is, when will they be completed and how soon can we benefit from them?
Well, there are many power plants that are set to go online, and this is where I was coming from. That we were advocating for to maintain a healthy generation mix, because the last information that we were that I received, a lot of these power plants coming on board this year would be solar. And, solar is green energy, and that's something that we encourage. In fact, the presence of many solar power plants as well as rooftop solar mitigated during the daytime the red alert status. That's why, if you notice, we were declaring red alert later in the day, 3 p.m. onwards. However, at night, then there's no sun, they cannot be of help. So it would really be good to spread out the risk in terms of both location as well as technology. And I'm pretty sure that the Department of Energy would have a plan in that regard, but that's what we see from the grid perspective.
Attorney, and which areas are still considered the most vulnerable when it comes to rotational power interruptions?
When NGCP declares a red alert, this is grid-wide, meaning the entire Luzon or the entire Visayas, because NGCP's operations are divided into 3 main grids: the Luzon, the Visayas, and Mindanao grids. For Luzon and Visayas, they actually exchange power, naghihiraman yan. So right now, both the Luzon and Mindanao grids are on red and yellow alerts for the day, because coming into May 12 with the transmission line first trip, Visayas was already on yellow alert, meaning it could not help Luzon during the daytime. And now that Luzon is also in a state of deficiency, we cannot help Visayas at night, because there are a lot of solar plants in Visayas. So at nighttime, when their solar is gone, we usually help them. And vice versa. Daytime naman, we import power from the Visayas. So right now, neither grid can support the other.
Attorney, I have a question. We always talk about baseload capacity, and we know a lot of the more modern and environmentally friendly sources of power are not, kumbaga, hindi sila good enough yet, no, to be part of baseload. But do you have numbers on how much of an increase we've had in our baseload capacity, maybe since just last year? Has there been an improvement?
I have not seen the last year's numbers, but for this year, I think they're only in the less than 1,000 megawatts, thereabouts. It's not significant. It's not a significant amount. For solar, we're seeing around 5,000 megawatts. But it's not easy to just say it's a nominal number, 5,000 megawatts, 1,000 megawatts. You also have to consider, number one, the age of your plants. As a plant gets older, they are less efficient. So if a brand new plant can make, let's say, 100 megawatts, if it's 20 years old, then it can make a fraction of that. You also have to look at the location of the plants and the growth in the demand. So we've seen that the Philippines continues to consume power. It doesn't decrease, it's always increasing. So, and then, of course, when you increase the demand, you need to increase the supply, and the variability, or when I say variability, like solar and wind are both variable sources of energy, because we do not know when they will lessen their harvest, because there could be sudden cloud cover. So that's a different story altogether in terms of management. And to make sure that kind of variable energy is usable and stable enough to transmit to consumers, we need additional energy for that.
Okay.
So those are things that must come into the calculation.
Now, to make it simple for the households in Luzon and the Visayas, they have to brace themselves for more rotating brownouts.
Yes, that is the unfortunate truth, and I will not mince words on that. However, year in, year out, whether or not we are in a state of deficiency, it's always good to practice proper use of electricity. Sometimes we take it for granted, but really simple tips on the consumer level, like keeping your air conditioners clean, keeping your freezers clean, making sure your bulbs are all working. These are sources of strain on the system, and that can contribute to an already strained energy supply
Yeah.
situation.
In line with Ces's question, who gets to decide kung saan magkakaroon ng brownout? We were just talking here in the studio and kagabi sa Pasig, 3 hours. I experienced 1 hour last night. Is it the distribution unit that gets to decide, not the NGCP? Kung saan mismong area mag-off? Para lang we know where to look for, whose Facebook page to go to.
Or kung saan kang syudad pupunta muna para magpalamig.
Pwede rin.
In the general level, no, we do it proportionally. So, Meralco is 70% of Luzon. So, 70% thereabouts of the remaining supply will go to Meralco and its franchise area. Now, within the Meralco franchise area, it will be Meralco that will determine in accordance with their system or their protocols. So, for NGCP right now, when we declare a grid alert or a red alert, it's all over the country. So, in specific areas within distribution utilities franchise, that's up to them.
So, okay, last question na lang. For how long do we brace ourselves for how long do we resign ourselves to this situation?
I wish I could give good news on this nor any certainty, but we are really just relying on news from the power plants. We are, of course, in constant coordination with them, and they are trying. As soon as we were able to return the transmission services to the affected plants in Visayas, they did start to try and sink back into the grid, and they're continuing to do that, and hopefully matuloy yung tomorrow, because that will really alleviate or mitigate matters. And hopefully the one that went offline earlier, the GN Power plant in Bataan, hopefully that is also that will also come back online, because hopefully this is just a momentary glitch on their part and not a symptom of a larger and a longer, more difficult problem for the generating units.
All right, we thank you for talking to us. NGCP spokesperson Cynthia Alabanza.
Thank you.
All right, we're just going to take a quick break, but coming up, Senate chaos on May 13 is pitting upper chamber members against each other. That and more stories are still ahead here on the Big Story. Stay tuned.
You're watching the Big Story here on One News. Complaints have been filed against Mel Aragon, the NBI force multiplier who allegedly fired shots during Wednesday's chaos at the Senate. Aragon is facing a string of charges including alarm and scandal, trespassing, and direct assault. NBI Director Melvin Matibag believes Aragon will be eventually absolved from all complaints.
Kasama yung team na pumunta dyan. Pero siya hindi, nung tiningnan ko po, unang-una kong ginawa, chinek ko yung employment record at agents at confidential agents na inisyo namin, wala po yung pangalan niya doon. Kaya inalam ko po yung team at agad naman pong sinabi sa akin yung pangyayari na yung taong nagpaputok ng baril, na iwan niya yung kanyang tactical bag, yung 511 niya, nandoon po yung may naiwang magazine tsaka mga gamot. Inutusan niya po itong si Oragon na bumalik doon at may mga text messages pa po sa Blue Guard ng GSIS na pakitulungan para ma-retrieve yung naiwan na bag dahil nag-pull out na po yung team ng NBI dahil sa nangyaring gulo. So nung kinukuha niya yung bag, inaresto siya at pinarapin po siya ng SOCO. Hindi po inattach yung result ng parapin test.
Meantime, Senator Jinggoy Estrada is clarifying a statement caught on a Facebook live stream when he gave instructions to now suspended Senate Sergeant-at-Arms Mau Aplaska. Estrada said he wanted Aplaska to preserve the CCTV footage of the Senate shooting, not to hide it for good.
Kung nagla-live dito ko, siyempre, kung na rin malaman kung para sa lahat ng tao, natataranta na. Dahil siyempre, Pa naman yung nasa loob ng building ng Senado, tapos makakarinig ka ng putok ng baril, hindi ka ba matataranta nun?
Meantime, Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano believes NBI Director Matibag lied about checkpoints outside the Senate and the GSIS management's request for security. He also took a swipe at the minority bloc for questioning his claim the Senate was under attack on May 13.
Nakita nyo naman po, parang bula na wala po yung buong minority. Pagkatapos wala kaming narinig hanggang mga 10:30. Nung sinabi lang po, ay 9, 10, I don't know the time anymore, pinagbibintangan pa ang majority at ang Senado. Pinaligiran tayo ng NBI, naka-full tactical gear. When we defended ourselves sa Senado, sasabihin nyo pa nakakalungkot at magulo ang Senado.
Minority senators, for their part, are rebutting claims they knew about the Senate shooting beforehand.
Nag-focus sila eh. Pinag-usapan yata nila yung reorganization para sa Lunes. Kaya naiwan sila. Majority caucus eh. Siyempre, maiiwas sila doon. Sinabi naman ni General Mau Aplaska na siya yung unang nagpaputok ng warning shot. So, pag under attack, inattack ka, ikaw ang pinaputukan at gumanti ka ng putok. So, yun lamang magpapatotoo na hindi under attack ang Senado.
Ano gusto nila? Tapos na ang session? Nakaupo lang kami dyan sa session hall? Of course not. Ang mga nagsasabi niyan, actually sila yung pinaka may dapat ipaliwanag. So, gaslighting sila sa ganyang pangingintriga, which is beneath the dignity of senators.
In another development, the family of the late Senator Juan Ponce Enrile, or JPE, has spoken out after Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano publicly claimed that he was close to the former statesman. Katrina, daughter of JPE, acknowledged that the Cayetano and Enrile clans have known each other for decades. But she stressed that genuine relationships are not measured by public words after death, but by presence, sincerity, and quiet acts of respect during a family's profound loss. She also said the family could not help but notice who chose to attend the late senator's necrological services in the Senate and at Camp Aguinaldo and who did not. Katrina ended her post with a note on their patriarch's legacy, which she said should never be revisited, only when politically convenient or publicly advantageous.
Now moving on to another story. Preparations at the House are now in full swing, at least for public prosecutors, for the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. House Prosecutor Bel Zamora says they have already divided the tasks for the 4 articles of impeachment. Zamora, along with 10 other House prosecutors, will attend session on Monday, May 18, when the Senate is expected to convene as an impeachment court. Recall that Vice President Duterte was indicted on 4 charges. Article 1 centers on her alleged misuse of confidential funds. Article 2 cites the VP's alleged unexplained wealth and discrepancies between her bank records and Statement of Assets, Liabilities, and Net Worth, or SAL-N. Article 3 is about supposed monetary gifts to education officials during Duterte's time as DepEd Secretary. While Article 4 states Sara's alleged threats against President Bongbong Marcos, First Lady Liza Araneta, and former House Speaker Martin Romualdez. House prosecutors are worried that some senator judges may block the impeachment trial from moving forward again. Last year, the impeachment court remanded the articles to the House before archiving them. That's after the Supreme Court invalidated the first impeachment try.
Maasa nga ako na gagawin ng ating senators ang nakalagay sa saligang batas, which is to proceed to trial forthwith. Dahil wala pong question on jurisdiction.
Hindi mo talaga alam kung how things happen or what will happen in the Senate. We've been very careful, no? We've been very compliant sa kumbaga sa ano ba yung mga requirements ng Supreme Court, the rules and the Constitution. Kasi ayaw namin maulit yung what happened in the previous year, no?
All questions relating to whatever it is, whether to jurisdiction, whether to preliminary questions on the status, for example, of the Supreme Court petition of the defense, no? That should be resolved not as a Senate plenary, but in the Senate impeachment.
But what if a senator judge makes a motion to dismiss the articles of impeachment outright? Well, here's what some lawmakers think.
Sa tingin ko po ay labag sa konstitusyon yan.
And there has to be a trial. Nakakahiya na ang Senado kung kanilang pipigilan pa yung paglilitis na ito. They cannot do this to the Filipino people the second time around.
And now it's time to bring in our resident political pundit, Ronald Llamas. Ronald, good evening. Welcome back to the Big Story. I hope your lighting is fine and you're in a place where your gadgets won't give up on you.
Good evening, Ces. Good, Pauline, long time no see. Nabore ba kayo this week? Nabore ba kayo? Boring pa?
Parang hindi naman.
Far from it. Okay, unang-una, on Monday, magkakaroon na ba ng bagong leadership? Even Senate President Alan Peter alluded to that.
Aba, hindi ko alam.
No? Parang may alam ka. Paki-share mo naman ang iyong naririnig.
With a 13 vote majority, alam mo naman it can change overnight. At siyempre sa Monday, overnight din 'yon.
Okay. Well, missing ang isa sa 13, 'di ba? O hindi na 'yun makakaboto.
Yes, so 12 na lang, no? Kasi after everything that happened, ikaw ba, kung nasa majority ka ba na manatili dito sa present majority? Tingin ko naman meron naman diyang iba na nahihiya.
Fearless forecast. Sino yung tingin mong pwedeng or baka nagsisi or nagregret sa mga pangyayari this week? Kala ko naghang ka eh. Sadya lang pala.
Edi doon sa dalawa na bumaliktad.
Yung dalawang bumaliktad.
Sino doon, Ronald?
Senator Loren Legarda, you're saying may
The Villar siblings.
Pia, 2 bilyar, di ba? Si Pia from the very start, ko naman yun, Trojan horse. Di ba? Tapos si Loren, yung anak niya, nandun naman sa kabila. So, well, hindi mo naman ma-underestimate si Loren. Pwede naman niyang maglipat-lipat eh. No?
Okay, pero the Senate President may be, he's a person of interest.
Oo nga, interesting nga siya.
No, what I mean is, they may be party to an obstruction of justice case, him and Senator Robin Padilla.
Sana wag naman dahil permanent disqualification ang parusa ron eh.
Oh, ganun kalala.
Pero do you agree, Ronald, na pwedeng mag-fall under obstruction of justice yung kanilang ginawa?
Of course, hindi lang yun. Harboring a criminal, no? Tapos yung, di ba sila ang nagsabi na sila yung mag-hold kay Bato. Ang jurisdiction, di ba? Tapos biglang sinabi na, hindi, umalis na eh. At wala namang kaso dahil wala namang warrant. So may warrant yung ICC. It's the force of a treaty. More than an Interpol red notice. Mas powerful yung yung warrant ng ICC dahil nga that was based on a treaty and a treaty is bahagi ng ating domestic law.
Now, the Ombudsman has stepped in to suspend the OSA chief, and all the Senate President could say, dapat NBI din. He really could not object also or defend the actions of the Senate Sergeant-at-Arms.
Of course, paano mo didepensahan yung Sergeant-at-Arms na nagpapaputok sa mga law enforcers? At the very least, dapat kinausap niya. No? At sinabi niya, ano bang atin? No? Nagpaputok ka kagad, bawal yon. Hindi ka naman police enforcer eh. Ikalawa, may rules ang pagpapaputok ng warning shot. Even that, may rules yan eh. Hindi ka pwede magpaputok ng warning shot sa isang enclosed area, etc. etc. Kaya maraming nilabag si Mao eh.
But on the side of Matibag, do you think, if we are to believe the Senate President, meron din siyang pagkukulang?
I doubt it. Dahil yung NBI naman pwede naman maglabas-masok sa Senate eh. Anong violation ang ginawa niya? Lalo na wala siya ron. At yung mga NBI na sinasabi nila nasa GSIS. Hindi ko alam kung ano yung nilabag.
Pero Ronald, now that the details are becoming clearer, do you still think na yung shooting incident last Wednesday was staged, was a ruse, was a diversion para makatakas, quote-unquote, si Senator Bato de la Rosa from the Senate?
Tingin ko, Pauline, pag nagpa-survey ka, baka ang sumagot dyan in the affirmative, 98%.
Ronald, may what-if question ako. Lilinawin ko what-if to, no? Kung magbago ang leadership at ang majority sa Senado next week, anong magyayari dito sa impeachment? No? Do you think magbabago muna yon bago nila i-convene yung Senate as an impeachment court? And secondly, yung flood control probe at yung Blue Ribbon partial report na hindi natin alam kung saan na napunta, mas may chance bang lumitaw ito ulit? Kasi baka magbago yung isip ng ibang mga senador.
Exactly. Forthwith. Huh? Baka yung Blue Ribbon, baka yung 7 nakapirma, baka maging 9 na.
Tingin mo, sinong dadagdag doon sa 7?
Pwedeng si Win Gatchalian. No? Pwedeng si JP. Ang nangyari kasi dito sa linggong ito, mahirapang ma-identify ka doon sa present Senate leadership. Mahirapang ma-identify ka doon sa mga ayaw pumirma sa Blue Ribbon. Yun yung malaking tulong ni Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano. No?
I also wish to point out that there were 2 abstentions in that vote. So these 2 senators, Migs and JV, may also vote, against those in the majority right now.
Wala nang abstention next week.
So may alam ka nga.
Deliberately being obtuse itong si...
Parang matipid si
parang
Ronald
dati
tonight.
kung kailan ka medyo...
Hindi siya masyadong bibo today, no?
Oo nga eh.
Educated guest lang, baka ipatawag ako ng Guzman eh.
But given the public response, what you see in social media, it's overwhelming na nobody is buying their story, but still they are sticking to it, ha?
Siyempre, pag nagsinungaling ka once, pangatawanan mo na.
Pero yun ang hirap pag nagsinungaling ka, parang wala nang katapusan yan, ibabaon mo na yung sarili mo, hindi ba?
Oo nga. Pero tumangos yung ilong ng Senate President.
Ito, gusto kong malaman, no? Ano ba yan?
Tuloy si siya.
Okay.
Sige. Hindi ko naman. Sige. Please rescue.
Kasi nung linggo eh. Gusto nyo mag-weekend ng seryoso.
Hindi, I wanted to ask Sir Ron.
Chill lang yung mga tao eh.
Sige. Go ahead, Pawi.
Let's talk about Senator Bato de Rosa muna. So, essentially, parang we don't know where he is. Again, he has gone back into hiding while there is that arrest warrant from the ICC. So, Ronald, how do you think the government should go about this? Should they actively search for him and enforce this arrest warrant given na meron pa yung order from the Supreme Court for both parties to comment?
Publicly, pwede namang sabihin mo ay nire-respeto mo yung 72 hours na hiningi ng Supreme Court. Pero malapit na matapos yung 72 hours eh. So, habang sinasabi mo yon, dapat ay as a continuing crime, no? Hinahunting mo yung Senator Bato. Diba? Wala naman kasing legal impediment na hulihin siya. Parang courtesy lang yan sa Supreme Court. Kaya iba yun iba yung courtesy, iba yung may legal impediment. Dahil walang TRO, walang legal impediment.
Right.
Kung sasabihin ni Senator Alan, Ambassador of Jesus Christ Cayetano, sasabihin niya na wala naman daw warrant. Ano ba? Nataka ko dahil alam ko, abogado siya eh.
Wala daw local court warrant.
Yes.
A treaty has the force of a local court. Dahil ang treaty kasi ay nagiging bahagi ng ating batas. Hindi ba na alam yun? Pag may Hindi na pahamon bahagi na ng iyong law.
Dahil kay Pawi, naalala ko na bigla yung gusto kong itanong sa'yo. Meron din kasing kumakalat na parang sentiment online. No? Maraming nagsasabi parang mas hindi na raw interesado yung executive na huliin talaga si Bato.
Correct.
Kasi kumbaga na out of the way na naman si former President Duterte and he's the main guy. Do you see that also? Na parang pwede na nilang palagpasin ito? And because it will also have implications kay Senator Bongo, who a lot of people are saying is next.
No.
All right.
Dahil mapapahiya sila kung hindi nila mahuli si Bato. Mapapahiya yung ating law enforcer sa bahagi ng executive. Di ba? Yun yung problema eh. Tatamaan din yung presidente kung hindi nila nahuli si Bato. Lalo na, wala pa silang nahuhuli.
Which also brings me to this question, Ronald, kasi bakit ang tagal-tagal, November pa pala ito, and the PNP took its sweet time, and there are now questions being raised against Nartates, DILG Secretary Remulla, why they took their sweet time.
Baka hindi naman. No? Baka hinahunting si Bato dahil alam nila may international warrant na siya, pero hindi nila pinapublicize. Nagtago kasi si Bato, lumabas siyang international warrant November 6. Tago siya November 7. Diba doon siya nawala, doon siya naging absentee senator.
Yes.
So, by that time, hinahabol na siya, hinahunting na siya.
Well, this has been raised by Senator Trillanes na kaya NBI ang mas parang inaasahan niya dahil nga, alam mo yung kapwa PMA may mga ganyang duda ang iba na hindi talaga sila pursigido.
I'm not too sure. No? I'm not too sure. Hindi kasi ako PMA
Bakit masyadong matipid sa salita ngayon si political pundit Ronald Llamas? I'm sure you're...
Yes, natuto ko kay Senator Alan Peter. More talk, more mistake.
And I'm sure you're ready to enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much. Your insights are always appreciated, nevertheless. And this is still the big story in One News. Coming up, another oil price hike looms in a few days. Find out how much when we return. Big Story is back with news on possible oil price hikes next week. According to industry sources, diesel may rise on Tuesday, May 19 by as much as 2 pesos and 50 centavos per liter. Gasoline, on the other hand, could be more expensive by 75 centavos to 1 peso and 25 centavos per liter. The figures are based on 4 days of trading in the Mine of Platte, Singapore. And in another development, Brian Keith Hosaka returns as Commissioner of the Governance Commission for Government-Owned and Controlled Corporations. Hosaka is the former Executive Director of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, which led the probe into the flood control scandal. The ICI was dismantled on March 31. And Philippine Military Academy Alumni Association Incorporated Chairman and CEO Ricardo David Jr. has called on members to maintain unity and non-partisanship. That's amid public discussions involving PMA alumnus, Senator Ronald De La Rosa. David urged members to remain calm, circumspect, and respectful despite differing views within the core. He said differences of opinion should never undermine mutual respect among Cavaliers, stressing that the brotherhood must remain stronger than any division.
And from beauty queens to big-name stars, celebrities have sounded off on the chaos that unfolded inside the Senate. And among the first to react were beauty queen Joy Barcoma and comedian Pokwang, who did not hold back their thoughts online. Kim Chiu, Ann Curtis, Donnie Pangilinan, and Oji Diaz also shared their dismay. They urge voters to watch closely and learn from what is happening. And in separate posts, Agot Isidro and Janine Gutierrez appeared to take aim at Senator Bato de la Rosa. Meanwhile, award-winning director Eric Mati described the incident as political theater.
All right, now how about we end the week on a much lighter note? Well, Gordon Ramsay Bar and Grill opens its first ever pop-up restaurant at BGC today, offering the global chef's iconic treat. Now, know more about Ramsay's Idiot Sandwich in this report by mobile journalist Daniel Dial.
Manila just got served as Gordon Ramsay's bold and indulgent sandwiches just landed here in BGC. From a viral internet moment to a real-life comfort food experience, the first ever Idiot Sandwich pop-up gives Filipinos a first taste of Gordon's latest culinary concept, blending a more playful and laid-back side of the world-renowned chef's brand. And celebrity guests were quick to join the hype.
Very excited. They're making my sandwich now. Matitikman ko na din. We're very happy because this will be the first idiot sandwich in the whole world. Hope they could come and check this out.
Ever since I was a kid, I was watching Gordon Ramsay with my dad. He was a big fan. So I'm just super excited to be here and to experience the idiot sandwich today.
The menu serves a mix of both flavor and comfort food favorites. From the Turkey Breakfast Club, Pastrami Sandwich Classic, ham and cheese toasty, to the chocolate peanut butter whoopie ice cream for dessert. Even content creators can't help but gush over the selection.
I saw a couple of options. We have sandwiches that are in between croissant, ice cream sandwiches for dessert. And I'm also looking forward to actually that one. The fish no chips burger or sandwich.
That will be the pastrami sandwich. I'm so excited about it because everything that I like actually from a sandwich, I'm not yet done on the selection, so I'll tell you later.
With the Philippines as one of the chef's biggest following bases, directors highlight that Manila felt like the perfect place to bring the concept to life.
The Filipinos love eating, and secondly, they love eating good food. And we have lovely 5 sandwiches with 1 dessert on the menu. The best is the fish with no chips. It stays the classic, and it's always really one very good fish that we use. We use the local fish, lapu-lapu.
The pop-up will operate daily starting May 15 to August 16, making it a limited-time culinary experience that Filipino foodies shouldn't miss.
But for now, we have it here for 3 months. It's a pop-up. And let's see where the road takes us in BGC. Yeah, you definitely have to come and try it. It's really the best sandwiches that I ever had. I'm not being biased, but it's really super good.
Kapatid Mobile Journal Daniel Diao, we are One News.
Gutom ako.
Mamaya, guys.
Kung May 15 pa pala ang opening, sabi, di ba?
That's today.
That's today.
That's today.
Oo nga.
Kung mag-brownout mamaya, guys, kita-kits tayo. Chad.
It's May 15th.
Dala na lang
I
ng
lost track of the dates.
Diba? And it's Friday.
Finally, we made it to the last.
Yeah. I hope this coming Monday will not be as manic.
Oh,
what do you think?
I don't know. Based on what Ronald said, I'm not very hopeful. I'm bracing myself.
All right, and on that note, that's it for the big story this week. Thank you so much for watching.
As we said, we're back here on Monday at 8 p.m. We'll see you then.
Kapatid, we are One News. All sides, all the time. Good night and have a restful weekend.